الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن استنى بسنته إلى يوم الدين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا اللهم بما علمتنا وزدنا اللهم علما وعملا إنك ولي ذلك والقادر عليه. أما بعد، فما زلنا في كتاب الطهارة، باب آداب قضاء الحاجة، من كتاب بلوغ المرام للحافظ ابن حجر رحمه الله وغفر الله لنا وله ولسائر المسلمين. So we're finishing up today, inshallah, the book of the manners of the restroom. And we are in the last part of this, inshallah, this chapter. And just to quickly review what we took last time, we took the manners of not facing the Qibla, with one's relieving himself, either facing or turning one's back. Okay? And there is some scholars give a permission if someone's inside the building to turn one's back to the Qibla, but not to face when in that direction. So that's one opinion, but the safer is to avoid it altogether. And also we talked about speaking in the bathroom. تكلمنا في درس الماضي عن حكم الكلام أثناء قضاء الحاجة. When we say in the bathroom, we mean while relieving oneself, in the act. In the act, then at the very least, it's not respectable to talk in that moment. Okay, لأن هذا سيطيل عليه مكثه في مكان هذا بيت الشياطين، فينبغي أن يتسرع فيه في الخروج، لا يفعل الشيء الذي سيطيل عليه المكوث في هذا المكان. So also, why we say that? Because if talking, for some people want to pick up the phone, and so on in the bathroom, and we don't say it's haram, but we say that if it's going to lead him to be in the bathroom longer time, then that's a problem, because he is now more with the shayateen, because he says the dua when he goes into the bathroom. So Bismillah, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-khubuthi wal khaba'ith. He seeks refuge from the shaitan. Means we know this is the house of the shaitan when he's in the act. So when he's in the act, he should hasten to finish up and not do anything, even reading, if it's something which is going to cause him to be absorbed and distracted from what he's supposed to be doing, and make him just sit there like he's having a long time, and not being distracted from what he's supposed to be doing, then that is problem, and he should not do so. But we can't say haram, because there's no hadith. We can't say it's haram because there's no hadith. Only thing we can say, the speech of Allah. We cannot say Allah's name in the bathroom. But al-kalam al-adi, the general speech, we can't say salam, because salam min asma'illah. Salam is the name of Allah. So we can't say wa alaykum as-salam if someone says salam to me in the bathroom. And of course not reciting Quran when he's in the act. Okay, so today we'll pick up with the hadith about the matter of covering one's awrah. And this is something which is well known, but there's a hadith that from Aisha, هذا الحديث الرابع والتسعون عن عائشة رضي الله عنها أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال من أتى الغائط فليستتر. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, whoever goes to the bathroom, meaning in the act of relieving himself, then he must cover his awrah. فَلْيَسْتُرْ أَوْرَتَهُ. He has to cover his private area. Meaning he not cover, but I mean he should not let it be revealed to anyone else. You know, should not reveal his private area. So he should be in a place, either take a screen, in a stall, for example, where it's a complete wall. Not half wall. Those half wall stalls. That's a problem because someone can still see. Around that is possible, and amongst other problems. So he should be in where his aura is not shown to others. That's the meaning. فَلْيَسْتَتِرْ. وهذا اللام هذا اللام هنا للأمر، لام الأمر يسمى. فهنا الأمر للوجوب، واجب عليه الستر. It's obligatory, meaning if he doesn't cover his private part and reveals himself to others in that act, then it's a sin. It's a sin based upon this hadith. Now we said covering, there's two things. There's covering the private parts and being far away from people. Okay? Those are two things, two different things. The first is wajib. The second is sunnah. Okay? What is to be far away? What's the benefit? Haya. It's a shame. It's a shyness. Because you don't want to be كما قلنا لأنه ما يحب أن يسمع منه أصوات أو يشم منه الرائحة الكريهة في هذا المقام. الإنسان المستحيي يتجنب هذا من طبيعته. So a person who is shy, it's recommended for him, if possible, as much as possible, to not be in a position where he can be heard from him, the sounds that are coming when he's in the bathroom, or the smell from him in the bathroom. Okay, naturally. But this is not an obligation. This is sunnah. All right? The obligation is what? To cover the private part, to not be seen by anyone in the private area. طيب. الحديث التالي حديث الخامس والتسعون عن عائشة رضي الله عنها أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم كان إذا خرج من الغائط قال غفرانك غفرانك. Next hadith, the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, when he would leave the bathroom, he would say this dhikr, meaning when he would be finished, he would put his clothes back on and exit that the toilet. He would say غفرانك. We know this, all of us. And what is he? This is in comparison to what he says when he goes in. He says, Bismillah, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-khubuthi wal-khaba'ith. Wa inda al-khuruj, yaqulu ghufranak. Wa ghufranak masdar al-ghafr. Al-ghufran. كما هو يعني شكران مصدر الشكر. فهو بمعنى أن الله أنه يسأل الله أن يغفر له. أي معناه أسألك اللهم غفرانك. أسألك اللهم غفرانك. So this غفرانك means I ask Allah you to forgive me, meaning cover my sins, okay, and to pardon me for my sins, okay. Do not punish me, cover me, and do not punish me for my sins, okay. Now, why would he say that? للعلماء كلام في الحكمة من هذا الذكر عند الخروج من الغائط. The scholars have different opinions. Why is this wisdom of saying this when he leaves the bathroom? Okay, but من أحسن ما قيل فيه ما قاله الإمام ابن القيم رحمه الله في كتابه إغاثة اللهفان من مصائد الشيطان. So the best thing, from the best things is stated about the wisdom, why we say غفرانك when we leave and finish our business, is what Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah said. He said, وفي هذا من السر والله أعلم أن النجوى أي الخروج يثقل البدن ويؤذيه باحتباسه. He said he said, Allahu Alam, but the secret behind this, there's a wisdom, obviously, between everything. Every legislation has a wisdom. We may know some things, we may not know other things. But there is something we can say here, that just as the excrement, what we hold in our abdomen from urine or feces, is heavy on the body. Okay? وَيُؤْذِيهِ, and if it is withheld in the body, the person is harmed. He's harmed by that. It's not something which may actually harm him and make him sick. وكذلك الذنوب تثقل القلب وتؤذيه باحتباسها. Likewise, the sins are heavy on the heart, and they harm the person when they're withheld in the person and not asked forgiveness from. Okay? فهما مؤذيان مضران بالبدن والقلب. So one of them is harmful for the body, which is the excrement, urine or feces, and the other one is harmful for the heart, which is the sins. فلما سهل الله له الخلاص من هذا المؤذي لبدنه وصار خفيفا بعد الثقل تذكر المؤذي الآخر. So a person, when Allah blesses him, okay, and makes it easy for him to remove the bodily harm and the bodily heavy thing on the body, he remembers that there's something else weighing on him too. Okay? He remembers when Allah gives him one blessing, he remembers, oh, there's something else weighing upon me that I have to remove, which is the sins. So I need to make istighfar, ghufranak. So I need to ask Allah's forgiveness so that my heart can be lightened just as my body was lightened. Okay? So this is a nice statement of Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah. So far we took, the first hadith was covering one's awrah, wajib. Okay, at all times, obviously. This is at all times. But a person may think, if he doesn't know the legislation, that, when he's going to the bathroom, he's excused, that he can now show what he normally would not. But no, even in this case, this need, he has to cover his private area. And the private area, we know, for when we're talking about the men, between the navel and the knees. A person should cover that area from the sight of others. ثم نأخذ حديث السابع والتسعون. حديث عفوا الثامن والتسعون 98. وعن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم استنزهوا من البول فإن عامة عذاب القبر منه. صححه الألباني رحمه الله. أي أكثر عذاب القبر من البول. استنزهوا أي بمعنى الإبعاد، ويعني البعد من البول، من أن يصاب من البول إما بدنه أو ثوبه أو مكان صلاته. عليكم السلام ورحمة الله. هذا الاستنزاه، أن يستنزه أن يبتعد من أن يرد البول على ثوبه أو بدنه أو مكان صلاته، لأن هذا من شروط الصلاة، طهارة البدن والملابس والمكان. So the next hadith is about another manner from the manners of using the restroom, which is to avoid the urine coming back upon the person, or getting upon his clothes, either his clothing or his body, or going to the place where he's going to pray. Okay, so this is the wording. This hadith is al-istinzah, yastanzihu, that a person should basically keep it far, be far from the urine coming back to him. وورد أيضا حديث في البخاري حديث مشهور، حديث عذاب القبر، أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم مر بحائط من حيطان المدينة فسمع صوت إنسانين رجلين يعذبان في قبورهما، فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم: يعذبان وما يعذبان في كبير وإنه لكبير وإنه لكبير. كان أحدهما لا يستتر من بوله وكان الآخر يمشي بالنميمة، إلى آخر الحديث. وجاء في لفظ أحدهما لا يستنزه من بوله، هذا يوافق لفظ الحديث الأول في الكتاب استنزهوا، وجاء بلفظ لا يستبرئ من بوله، فجاء هذا الحديث صحيحا بروايات صحيحة بألفاظ مختلفة، ولكن كلها تصب نفس المعنى، والمعنى هو التحفظ والصيانة من البول، أي بول الإنسان نفسه. فجاء الاستنزاه يستنزه ويستبرئ ويستتر. ويستتر يعني يأخذ سترة تمنع من أن يرد عليه بوله، بأن يبتعد مثلا من مكان محطة البول، أو يعني يستبرئ كذلك بمعنى الصيانة والتحفظ. فكل الألفاظ بنفس المعنى. هذا قول من أقوال أهل العلم أنه بمعنى التحفظ والصيانة من أن يلامس البول. Okay, so this hadith comes, another famous hadith, okay, which is hadith in Bukhari. We all know this hadith, that the Prophet ﷺ passed by a wall, or a wall from, or a place in Al-Madinah, and he heard the voice of two men being punished in their graves, or two people being punished in their graves. And he said, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, they too are being punished, and they're not punished for a big thing, meaning in the sight of the people, but it is a big thing in the sight of Allah. One of them used to not screen himself from the urine returning to him when he would go to the bathroom. In one narration, he used to not, distance himself from that matter, or he did not protect himself from the urine to come back to him. And all the wordings are the same meaning. He did not, he was lax, and he was not careful, or did not really care that the urine should come back to him. And for this, he is punished in the grave. When the other one was punished for al-mashi bin namima. He used to carry the tales between people to cause fasad and to cause conflict between people. He said, this one says this about you, and you go to the other, this one, he talks bad about you, and to cause them to get into a fight. So they're both major sins. Okay, but although people take them lightly, many people, يعني حتى من المسلمين من أخذوا بآداب غير المسلمين في هذا الباب، يعني تكاسلوا وتهاونوا من التحفظ والصيانة من البول والاستنزاء، وهذه من المصيبة. نسأل الله العافية والعفو من ذلك. And this is something that a lot of people are afflicted with. They don't take it seriously when they are in the bathroom, that the urine should not come to him, back to him, or to his clothing. And we said this is a major sin. A major sin. What is the definition of a major sin? الكبيرة ما ورد في النصوص وترتب عليه إما عذاب في الآخرة أو حد في الدنيا أو لعن من الله وغير ذلك كما قال أهل العلم. What is a major sin? The major sin is that which either is mentioned, and it is the consequence of it is mentioned, either a punishment in the next life, meaning after his death, in the grave, he's being punished for this matter. So he's punished in the next life, or it's a penalty, a had is established in this life, like stealing, the hand is cut off, or zina is stoned, or the curse of Allah. La'an Allah, an-namisa, the one who, does the removes the hair and tattoos and so on. Allah, the word came in the hadith, Allah curses the one who does this, so it's a major sin. So the point is that this is major sin, and والمعنى أنه لا يستنزه من بول نفسه كما جاء في حديث البخاري كان أحدهما لا يستتر من بوله لا من البول عموما. هذا ليس المراد أنه لا يستنزه من أبوال الحيوان، لأن من الحيوان كما قلنا ما بوله طاهر، بول المأكول اللحم طاهر، ألبانها و يعني أبوالها كما في حديث الأرانيين. We said last time that the urine is not all, we're talking about the urine of the person himself. Okay, when he's in the act, it comes back to him. It doesn't mean that a person has to avoid all kinds of urine. Okay, that's not the meaning intended by the context of the hadith. Because why we say that also? Because there's some urine of animals which is tahir, which is pure, which is like the urine of the sheep, the urine of the camel, urine of the animals which we are allowed to eat the meat of. Any animal we're allowed to eat its meat, then the urine of it is pure, as is the droppings. And this we know because we mentioned last time, we're allowed to pray in the marabid al-ibil or marabid al-ghanam. We're allowed to pray in the stables of the sheep where there is these matters. And the famous hadith al-araniyin, الذين جاءوا المدينة ومرضوا فأمرهم النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بألبان أو أبوال وألبان الإبل. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, when there was the people who came to Al-Medina and they became sick, the Prophet ﷺ ordered them as a cure to drink the urine of the camels and the milk of the camels. The urine of the camels is drunk, yes, and to this day. This is a healing because, first of all, it's a healing. وقونه شفاء دل على أنه طاهر لأن الله لم يجعل الشفاء في المحرم. اوكي، او انه حلال يعني لو كان بول الإبل نجسا لكان شربه حراما. Okay, if the urine of the camel was filthy, and we have to clean it off our body, like we said, we can't let it get on our body, otherwise we can't pray in that condition. It's filthy. If it was filthy, then drinking it would have been haram, right? So how does the Prophet ﷺ order us to drink it as a cure and it be najis? Mustahil. No way that he would order us to take in our bodies that which is filthy. وهذا على القاعدة أن كل نجس محرمة الأكل. كل نجس محرم الأكل. There's a principle that everything that is filthy we're not allowed to take in our bodies. Like, for example, pig is filthy to touch. Meat, we can't put it in our bodies. Human excrement, okay? Human urine, obviously filthy. But the fact that we can take the urine of the camel in the body and drink shows that it's not najis. وفي هذا الحديث أيضا إثبات عذاب القبر وهذا ثابت بنص القرآن والسنة المتواترة. And in this hadith is an affirmation of a matter of aqidah, which is the punishment of the grave. This is established without any doubt from the Quran and the Sunnah, which is the highest grade of authenticity. Hadith al-mutawatir. والحديث القرآن أولا جاء في قول الله تعالى عن قوم فرعون: النار يعرضون عليها غدوا وعشيا ويوم تقوم الساعة أدخلوا آل فرعون أشد العذاب. فالأرض على النار غدوا وعشيا، هذا لا شك قبل قيام الساعة. للترتيب قال الله: النار يعرضون عليها غدوا وعشيا، ويوم تقوم الساعة قيام الساعة بعد هذا الأرض وهذا العذاب. فمعناه أن هذا العذاب حصل في قبورهم بلا شك. So the proof for the punishment of the grave, not only this hadith in Bukhari, we said, about the urine, the one who's being punished for not protecting himself, screening himself from the urine. Also in the Quran, there comes the punishment of the grave mentioned about the Qawm Fir'aun. Allah said, and the fire, they'll be exposed to the fire day and night. And then on the day of judgment, it will be said, enter them, people of Fir'aun, into the severest punishment. So where is this exposure to the fire happening? In their graves, because the hour has not been established yet, the day of judgment. So this is not the nar, the punishment of the hellfire. This is the punishment in the grave, meaning in there before they are resurrected. وأما قوله صلى الله عليه وسلم: عامة عذاب القبر منه، أي من عدم الاستنزاء من البول، هذا بالنسبة المؤمنين، أي وصاة المؤمنين، عدم التنزه من البول. أما الكفار فإن عامة عذاب القبر عندهم من الشرك والكفر. فقوله عامة عذاب القبر منه، هذا بالنسبة للمؤمنين الذين سيطهرهم الله بهذا العذاب إن شاء أو يغفر لهم. ولكن إذا يعني عذبهم الله، هذا عامة عذاب القبر للمؤمنين، أكثر عذاب القبر. أما بسبب عدم التنزه من البول، ولا أما الكفار فسبب أكثر عذابهم الشرك والكفر، لأنه وقعوا في أشد من التنزه من البول. يعني so here when the hadith says that the most of the punishment of the grave is from not protecting oneself from urine, meaning for the believers. That's what Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen rahimahullah said. This is for the believers. As far as the disbelievers, then most of their punishment in the grave is not for this matter, because they've fallen into more or worse than that, which is shirk and kufr. Yadhan billah. So they're being punished for greater sin in their graves, and in the next life it will continue. يتصل عذابهم في القبر بعذابهم في الآخرة. أما المؤمنون فإن الله إن شاء عذبهم فترة في قبورهم ثم يطهرهم ويدخلهم الجنة، أو يستمر عذابهم، وهذا يرجع إلى مشيئة الله. إن الله لا يغفر أن يشرك به ويغفر ما دون ذلك لمن يشاء. فمن المؤمنين من يعذب في القبر في قبورهم لمثل هذه الذنوب، عافانا الله وإياكم منها. فيعذبهم في القبر، إما يعذبهم وإما يعفو عنهم. هذا يرجع إلى مشيئة الله. When we say that the punishment of the grave is most people in the grave, when the believers are punished for the urine, it shows it's very common, and we should be careful from this matter. I mean, people can slip into it. They don't take it seriously. They can fall into it. And we say this, and that they deserve to be punished if a person does this. But Allah, if He wills, He can forgive him. He can forgive him. And if He wills, He can punish him. وعموما العذاب في القبر بقدر أعمالهم. It's according to their sins, a person's sins. We ask Allah to forgive us. طيب, one more benefit from this hadith the Shaykh mentioned أنه لا ينبغي للإنسان نعم عفوا يقول أن هذا لا يفهم منه فتح الباب أي باب الوسواس. يعني some people may think that when it comes to being careful of the urine, yes, some people they go into extreme, okay, and go into awham or delusions or kind of just going into extreme and almost whispering from the shaitan, such that they try to protect themselves from the urine by doing unnatural things. Like there's mentioned, some of the scholars in the past mentioned this, but there's not evidence for it. Like, for example, squeezing one's private part, to make sure all the urine leaves, okay, and nothing remains. This is no proof for this, okay. Or some of them, they used to say when he's finished using the urinating, he should get up and walk some, okay, and then before he should make wudu because something may come out more, or that he should do some movement or something. And the worst of that is the squeezing, okay, because that can cause disease, that can cause a disorder in his organ if he squeezes it and does too much irritation to it. But it should be a natural thing without exaggeration. That's the point. All right. If it's done naturally without exaggeration, then he will not have a problem. لذلك قال أهل العلم إن الذكر كالضرع إن حلبته در وإن تركته قر. They say that your private part for a man is like the udder of the sheep or the cow where they milk. If you try to milk it, it's going to keep coming. Whatever is coming is going to keep coming. Like the milk keeps coming, the urine will keep coming. And if you leave it naturally, it will settle. So leave it naturally. Let the process come naturally. And once you're finished, then you're done. إلا إذا كان الإنسان يجد البلل ودائما هو لما يطلع من الغائط أو البول يجد يعني البلل ويخرج منه شيء على يقين أنه يتيقن أنه خرج منه شيء بعدما انتهى من بوله، وهذا يتكرر عليه، فحالته خاصة. هذا الإنسان ابتلي، عنده مرض، فهو بهذه الحالة له أن يتأنى، فيقوم عن بوله ويتحرك ويمشي وينظر ثم يستنجي من البول ويتوضأ. ولكن هذا لا يأخذ منه حكم عام، لأن هذا نادر عند إنسان ابتلي ومصاب بمثل هذا المرض. When we say that a person should not have to, you should take it naturally, except a person who always has a specific condition that whenever he's done urinating and he puts his clothes on or he moves a little, some more comes out. This is a condition that is specific to him. This is not the norm to take a general ruling for all people. But this person, or similar to him, is like incontinence. Incontinence of urine, there's specific ruling that permission is given. That a person can, for example, as we said, if he cannot control his urine, he can make wudu and then put on some padding or something, like a diaper or brief, and then go ahead and pray. And if more urine comes out, he continues to pray because he cannot help it in this condition. And so this is called سلس البول. يعني المصاب بسلس البول له حكم خاص ويعفى عن يسير البول عنده بخلاف غير المصاب فلا يعفى عن يسير البول. So that little bit of urine, the scholars say, is excused for him, because it's like dam istihala. Remember, we took dam istihala, the false bleeding from a vein or something, or some injury, or because of some medicine. A woman bleeds beyond her period. That bleeding, we said, she can pray with it, although she continues to bleed, with the condition that she makes wudu at the time of the prayer, puts on padding, and then if she continues to bleed, no problem, she completes that prayer, even if she's bleeding during the prayer. Similarly, the one who has incontinence of urine. Okay? And so this person who feels that some urine keeps coming from him, even after he's done, then he can wait, in this case, and wait and then clean himself after the urine has stopped. But the most important thing, he should not fall into whispering, okay? Because that will be musibah. It's a calamity. He's going to always, he doesn't have a problem, but he's going to make himself a problem. And even sometimes they miss the prayer, and because they're too much spending time in the bathroom, okay? وهذا شيطان. الشيطان يعني. A shaitan is like the dog, okay? A person should think, what do we do with the dog barks at us? Ignore him, right? If you pay attention to the dog, then he will continue barking. If you make respond to the dog, it will continue to bark. But if you ignore it, so it'll be quiet. And likewise the shaitan. If the shaitan does not see any response from us, when he whispers to us that, oh, there may be some urine, oh, you didn't clean yourself, oh, this, I felt something, I heard something, and so on. Maybe this part is dirty, okay, and maybe I stepped in something, maybe this, all of these doubts, okay. Person, if he ignores them and ignores the shaitan, they'll disappear from him, okay. So far, we took today. We'll finish, inshallah, the last matter, which is the matter of ما هو أفضل الاستنجاء وأفضل يعني طريقة التطهر من البول والغائط. هل هو الماء أو الحجارة وعندنا المناديل، أم هو الجمع بينهما؟ قال أهل العلم أن الأولى والأفضل الجمع، يعني بالترتيب. الأولى والأفضل الجمع، لأنه أنقى وأكمل وأنظف بالماء والحجارة. والثاني في الترتيب الماء وحده، والثالث الحجارة وحده. وهذا معلوم ومعقول. So what is the best way to cleanse oneself? Okay. The best way is to use water and tissue. Okay. That's the best way. Whether number one or number two, or specifically you can say number two generally, you would use both. All right, water and a tissue. And that time stones. If you don't have one or the other, you only had one. What is the better, or what is the next best? I could say. After using water and stones, just water. Okay, because water, ma tahur, because that is the asl. The asl of purifying ourselves is water. So likewise, purifying ourselves after going to the relieving ourselves. And the last in priority of goodness is just stones or just tissues. Okay, but all three are valid, and a person is clean by any of the three. All right, but we're just saying what is better. وجاء حديث عن ابن عباس رضي الله عنهما أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم سأل أهل قباء فقال إن الله يثني عليكم، فقالوا إنا نتبع الحجارة ماء. ولكن هذا الحديث ضعفه الشيخ الألباني رحمه الله. وجاء رواية بدون ذكر الحجارة. فهذا الذي هو ثابت في حديث أيضا عند أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال نزلت هذه الآية في أهل قباء فيه رجال يحبون أن يتطهروا الآية قال كانوا يستنجون بالماء فنزلت فيهم هذه الآية. فأهل قباء, Quba, this is the masjid, the place in Al-Madinah. First, the Prophet ﷺ came there when his hijrah. We'll take that in the seerah, inshallah. It's coming. He went to Quba and built there a masjid. Okay? And about the people of Quba and this masjid, Allah revealed, لَمَسْجِدٌ أُسِّسَ عَلَى التَّقْوَى مِنْ أَوَّلِ يَوْمٍ أَحَقُّ أَن تَقُومَ فِيهِ. وقيل أن هذا مسجد قباء، وجاء أيضا أنه مسجد النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم، مسجد المدينة، وكلاهما صحيح، لأن كلاهما المسجدان أسس على التقوى من أول يوم. مسجد قباء أول ما بني أسس على التقوى، ومسجد النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أول ما بني أسس على التقوى، فيصدق المعنى في المسجدين. لكن نتكلم الآن عن مسجد قباء. مسجد قباء ورد هذا الحديث أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال أن الله يثني عليهم لاستنجائهم بالماء، فنزلت هذه الآية. قال تعالى فيه رجال يحبون أن يتطهروا والله يحب المطهرين. Okay, so here the final thing we'll take is the praise that Allah revealed for the people of Masjid Quba, the people of that area, those who prayed therein. Allah revealed about them the masjid which was founded and established upon taqwa, upon piety of Allah from the first day. It is more right that you should pray therein. This is what applies as in the hadith to Masjid Quba. Why? Because Allah said, "Fihi rijalun," in it are men. Yuhibbuna an yatatahharu. They love to purify themselves. Wallahu yuhibbul mutahhirin, and Allah loves those who purify themselves. Okay, so the Prophet ﷺ said in hadith authentic that it was revealed about them. Why? Because they used to cleanse themselves with water. Okay, this shows the superiority of cleansing oneself after relieving with the water. Allah revealed about them that Allah yuhibbul mutahhirin. Okay, so this is a very high level of purification and deserves praise from Allah. But the best, okay, the best we can understand, although there's no hadith authentic, but the best we can understand logically or based upon other texts is to combine water and stones or water and tissues, as we said. That's the top. But then after that is just water. ودليله أو ما يستأنس به حديث صحيح عند البخاري من حديث أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه أنه كان يحمل مع النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم إداوة لوضوئه وحاجته، ثم سأله النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أن يأتيه بالحجارة، فظاهر أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم جمع بين الماء والحجارة، فهذا أكمل حالا. And there's a hadith that's authentic in Bukhari. This is the one, the only thing that we can derive by which the best, as we said, the hadith about Ahl Quba is weak, according to some scholars, that they used to combine water and stones. There's another hadith though we can use, which the Prophet ﷺ used to have Abu Huraira carry for him a water skin, okay, and he also asked for him stones in one hadith. So that means he combined the both, and that is the best. Okay, so and we mentioned also that this ayah that فيه رجال أو لمسجد أسس على التقوى من أول يوم, that this ayah in the tafsir comes that this is applying to Masjid Quba and also applies to Masjid al-Nabi, Masjid al-Madinah, so, of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because that for sure that was the meaning applies as comes in the hadith that the first time it was established upon taqwa. Okay, from the piety of Allah and the fear of Allah and the worship of Allah. So the meaning is correct. So both of them, أُسِّسَ على التقوى من أول يوم. But which one is better? In general, outside of this attribute or this ayah, which one is better? No doubt, Masjid al-Madinah, Masjid al-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam is better. لأن كما قلنا الصلاة فيها بألف صلاة في مسجد غيره. ولحث النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أن يشد الرحال، أن يسافر للصلاة فيه للمساجد، إن لا يشد الرحال إلا إلى المساجد مساجد الثلاثة، مسجد الحرام والمسجد النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ومسجد الأقصى، وما يذكر فيه مسجد قباء. طيب. So no doubt that Masjid al-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam is better than Masjid Quba, although Masjid Quba shares in this that they were established, both of them, upon piety from the first day. But Masjid al-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam is better. Why? Because the prayer in it is 1,000 times the prayer outside, except Masjid al-Haram, 100,000 times better than outside of Masjid or that any other regular masjid. And also there's a hadith that says that we can travel for the purpose of praying in 3 masajid, which are Masjid al-Haram, Masjid Haram, Masjid al-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and Masjid al-Aqsa in Palestine. But not Masjid al-Quba. Masjid al-Quba لا يسافر، لكن ورد فيه فضل لمن وصل إلى المدينة أن يذهب لمسجد قباء ويصلي فيه ركعتين أو ما شاء الله فله أجر عمرة، لكن لا يشد الرحال له، إنما يشد الرحال للمساجد الثلاثة. And so the only 3 masajid where you can plan to travel, for example, from America, and plan with your intention that I want to travel to pray in this masjid, only 3. No other masajid in the world. Masjid al-Haram, Masjid al-Nabi, or Masjid al-Aqsa. So that's the end of this chapter. ثم سندخل إن شاء الله إن كان في الأمور بقية في درس قادم في باب الغسل وحكم الجنوب، ثم بعد ذلك باب التيمم إن شاء الله. وإن شاء الله we can review. I think we're out of time now. Maybe we can review this chapter in the next class. But any questions on so far what we took? So in a few minutes, who can give us some reminder, some of the manners, adab shar'iyya, for going to the bathroom, for relieving oneself? Some of them. Anybody remember some that we took from the beginning of this chapter? Yeah? Okay, I mentioned the first one we took. Okay, first of all, go ahead.
From the beginning of the chapter?
It can be just randomly, without order.
One was, with the exception of if you're in a building, according to one opinion, you're not allowed to either face the Kaaba directly or with your back when you are using the restroom.
Correct. Yes, you cannot face the Qibla or the Kaaba with urine or feces, or turn one's back with in that act. So as we took last time, maybe earlier classes we took some other things. Dhikr al-du'a. Before taking one's clothes off, we make the dhikr. What do we say? When we start, before we take our clothes off to go to the bathroom. When you go to the bathroom, what do we say? Bismillah. Allahumma Ahsant. Very good, very good. And when you leave the bathroom, غفرانك. Very good, very good. So uh, we also mentioned about the places, the places where we're not allowed to relieve oneself, because we can use, we have bathrooms, obviously, but if you're in a open space, in some place where they didn't have the buildings, okay, uh, where are some open spaces where you were not allowed to relieve oneself?
Camel stables.
Uh, we're not allowed to pray in the camel stables. Yeah, that's the camel. We're not allowed to pray because the camels are uh, created from shayateen. Okay, they have that rebelliousness in them, the roughness, and they might trample us. Okay, that we cannot pray there. Where can we not go in the go to the restroom?
Path used by people.
Yes, yes. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Ittaqu al-la'anain من تخلى في طريق الناس أو ذلهم." The paths, طريق الناس, brings the curse from the people. Anyone who sees in walking in a common pathway, they see that, say, لعن الله من فعل هذا. May Allah curse the one who did this. So it'll come back to the person who did it. يأذن بالله. Also, في ظلهم, the shade. The shade of the people, also this is their gathering place. And it corrupts and harms them from having this place of shade and relaxation from the beating of the sun. So it took away that blessing from them, or spoiled it for them. So a person deserves the curse, yadam billah, from them. And also just general any gathering place where people would see that and become disgusted, okay, from that. So this is from the manners, and also what we mentioned today, what we're supposed to use to cleanse ourselves, which is water and or tissue, and the best to combine the two. What are we not supposed to use? Bones. Why?
Because that's the food for the jinn.
Food for the jinn. Ahsant. Ahsant. And what else?
The droppings.
Droppings of the animals. Even if they be pure, like we said, the droppings of sheep and camels and cows is pure, but we still can't use it to cleanse ourselves. Why? Because
Food for the like the cattle.
the cattle of the jinn. Ahsan. Because why? It's the food for the cattle of the jinn. So the bones are the food for the jinn, and the droppings are the food for the cattle of the jinn. Uh, and we said screening oneself, one's aura, from the sight of people is, what's the ruling for that when one person goes to the restroom?
I have to be fully screened.
Fully screened from the private area. This is wajib. And generally, all times we have to be screened, our private area. What about being far where we cannot be heard or smelled? The ruling for that is sunnah. Sunnah, because not always possible, يعني, it's not always possible, obviously. Uh, and we talked about speaking while one is in the act of relieving oneself. This is general speech.
Allowed, but not like recommended.
Yes, it's like you could say makruh. You could say it's يعني من ليس من المروءة. It's not from the respectability. A person is, I said, this is a shy act. If a person wants to be far away, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to go far until he could not be seen, by his companion. So what do you think about talking? That goes against the concept And also, it leads to being in that place longer. Talking or reading leads to extending the stay in the place. Bait ash-shayateen is the house of the devil. So a person should avoid anything that will extend his staying in that place. And of course, the name of Allah cannot say. Cannot say name of Allah, absolutely. And I think, inshallah, that covers it. والله تعالى أعلى وأعلم وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين وجزاكم الله خيرا أجمعين.